All right, it's going to be a big week. And the people want to know, are we going down some more or are we about to have a rebound and make some higher highs? Right now, we've got Bitcoin sitting well below the trend line that we've been bouncing off of here since the beginning of the year. And it looks like we've officially had a breakdown, but we still haven't made a lower low yet. Even though at the very worst, this was only about a 15% dip, and right now we're only down about 12%, people are still saying that this is the end of the bull market or the bull market is canceled and that we're going to be going down to about 20,000 or even lower. But as I've been saying in a lot of my previous videos, I thought this was pretty much necessary and we probably needed to have a little bit of a dip or some more sideways momentum before we got going, because that's usually what happens right before a parabolic move. So far, we've perfectly bounced off of this green line that I've had on here since, I don't know, at least a few months now. And hopefully we have turned it into support here. As you can see, the Bollinger Bands were super tightly squeezed here and they have finally started to separate. And just because it was a downward push doesn't mean that it's actually going to continue in that direction. It just means that we've started to separate these Bollinger Bands so that we have a little bit more room to wiggle. As you can see back here on February 8th, it looked like these Bollinger Bands were getting pretty tight, and then we had a dip to actually spread them out. But right after that, we had a little bit of a rebound, and we actually pumped about 17% in the next few days. Then if you go back here to August of 2020, you can see that we were pretty much getting squeezed between these Bollinger Bands before we had this big correction to the downside. And that did spread out these Bollinger Bands, and we went a little bit sideways after that. I'm sure a lot of people were really bearish at this time, obviously, but this was just giving us that little bit of room to wiggle, and then right before that, we exploded to the upside, beginning the next bull market. Again, back in 2017, we saw the same thing with these Bollinger Bands getting squeezed really tight together, and then there was a red dip that actually spread these Bollinger Bands apart, and while everybody was panicking and thinking that there was another bear market coming, it looked like this was just the beginning of the parabolic move, and right after that, we started skyrocketing. Everybody's been talking about these Bollinger Bands being squeezed together, and that because we've broken to the downside, this might be the beginning of a more significant dip. But as you can see throughout all of the bear markets in history so far, which there aren't many obviously, this has been something that has repeated throughout history, and I think it's just another sign that we're possibly getting to the end of this bear market and we might get roaring again soon. Also, if you look down here at the RSI, you can see that it is in the lowest oversold territory that we've actually seen so far this whole bear market. And as long as we don't actually make a lower low right here for the price, it looks like we do have a bullish divergence forming right here that could send us for another leg up. I'm not saying that it's going to happen immediately or that we're going to go pumping today, and we might actually have a little bit more sideways accumulation to go before this plays out. But with all of these people starting to panic again and the chart's just not really making a lower low and actually showing some bullish indications, this might actually be a really great opportunity for a contrarian bet and a great entry point to get in right before we go parabolic. How long could it actually be until we go parabolic though? Let's look at previous cycles to find out here. I have talked about this in one of my previous videos, but if you actually go and look at how long it took between the beginnings of the parabolic moves on each bull market, you can see that between about January of 2013 and whenever we started going parabolic again in August of 2016, it was about 188 weeks until the actual bull market started and people started to rush back into the market because we were making ultimately higher highs. And then if you zoom out and take it from the exact same week at the beginning of the 2016 bull market and stretch all the way out until the end of the March 2020 crash, right before we started going parabolic in 2020, you can see that it was almost exactly the same at 188 weeks between parabolic movements. As a matter of fact, it was exactly the same amount of weeks. So now, if this pattern is going to repeat here and we're actually going to start a new parabolic move 188 weeks after the previous parabolic move started, then we can stretch this thing out here and you can find out that we're actually getting very, very close. As a matter of fact, we're currently on the 178th week, which means that we would have about 10 weeks left to go, which could be sideways or even a little bit more dumpy before we actually explode and start making higher highs indicating that this could actually be the last opportunity for real this time to get in before we go parabolic. This is all speculation, of course, but I'm going to leave this blue vertical line right here at the 188th week, and we're going to see how it plays out. This week, though, we do actually have a really big catalyst that could send us for another leg lower or even going back for a rebound to the upside. On Friday, we have Fed Chair Powell, and he's speaking at Jackson Hole, which has been a really big catalyst in the previous years, which kind of confirmed which direction we were going to be going over the next few months. And if this chart is actually going to repeat this pattern, then we're not going to be starting to explode until about October 23rd. So we'll just see what Jerome Powell has to say on Friday. A lot of people are looking at the previous history of September to see if it's actually going to be a red or a green month. And I did talk about this in my last video, but as you can see by this tweet, it says September has never been green in the history of Bitcoin, and will it repeat next month? I don't know who Crypto Rover is, but obviously they don't know how to read. And while these don't just at first glance look like any of them were really green, the reason why they're actually not so green is because they weren't as green as other months. And we did have 2 green months back here in 2015 and 2016 in September, which means that it's not unheard of for Bitcoin to actually go up in September, but it's not very common, so we could see a red month. Although if my experience playing roulette is any indication of what might happen here with the Bitcoin price, it looks like we've been hitting a lot of red months in a row, and we're probably due for a green month in September. But that's just the degenerate gambler in me, so that's probably not a good indication to lean on. I did say that the Jackson Hole meeting might actually dictate what's going to happen for the next few months, but one thing that could definitely overshadow all of this and make pretty much what Jerome Powell says insignificant completely would be the deadline for the Bitcoin spot ETF from BlackRock, and if any of these get approved. We do have the first BlackRock deadline coming up here on September 2nd, actually. And since everybody has been super hyped up about this Bitcoin spot ETF going through, if it is declined, then I'm sure we're going to continue seeing negative Septembers here, at least for this year. But if it finally gets approved, then we're definitely going to be exploding to the upside, and I'm pretty sure we're finally going to be seeing a green month here in September. We've got the Bitwise ETF refiling deadline coming up actually the day before that, which could be delayed, and we might actually see the BlackRock one being delayed until the next or second deadline, because the SEC probably doesn't want to show preferential treatment, or at least for it to be perceived that way. And if they actually do delay it until October, then it'll show that they're not just eager to do anything that BlackRock says, but ultimately I believe BlackRock is probably going to be the first one to be approved. Historically, September is a negative month, so if they actually do delay it until October, then that would make a lot of sense in my opinion, actually. And then with the next deadline being on October 17th, that could line up really perfectly with this pattern that we've been seeing playing out. Because this blue line that I have drawn at the 188th week line starts on October 23rd, which is pretty much right after the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF would be approved. As I said earlier, though, this is all just speculation, and really nobody knows what's going to happen between now and probably this 188th week. It could definitely go down, or it could go up, and we might even go sideways until then. But I think that we're getting to the end of this sideways momentum, and we're probably going to be exploding and hitting the beginning of the parabolic movement somewhere towards the end of the year. And if not this year, then definitely probably at the beginning of next year. Definitely probably. Don't worry. But as this article by Forbes says, the SEC is slated to make an approve, deny, or delay decision on the last 5 Bitcoin spot ETF bids by early September from asset managers that look after a combined $15.5 trillion. So when, not if, these actually do end up getting approved, there's going to be trillions of dollars pouring into the Bitcoin space. And whether it happens at the beginning of September or if it's delayed all the way until October, it doesn't really matter in my opinion, because whenever we get to the top of the next bull market, you're going to look back at this time and these movements over the next couple of months are going to be absolutely insignificant. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Is this spot ETF from BlackRock going to be approved in September, or is the SEC going to delay it all the way until October? And let me know if you actually think that the Jackson Hole meeting is going to be a big catalyst, or if everybody's just paying so much attention to these Bitcoin spot ETF deadlines that whatever Jerome Powell says at this point isn't going to matter. And lastly, before I go, I just want to say rest in peace to a fallen legend in the Dogecoin community. It's not Kabosu, the actual dog from the Dogecoin meme, but another Shiba Inu that's very important to the community. You might know him as Cheems, has passed away from a battle with cancer. His name was Cheems Baltis and was known by his owners and close associates as Ball Ball, but everybody else on the internet knew him as Cheems, and it's really just sad to see a good Doge go. Anyway, rest in peace, Cheems. I'm going to be trying to step up my consistency here on the channel so you can catch videos on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm not exactly sure what time they'll be released, but probably before 5 p.m. Mountain Time. And you can always get early access to all of my videos on the X app and real-time updates in between videos in my Discord server. There's links to both of those down in the description. And if you really want to show support, then you can get some gear over at onlygoodcrypto.com. And don't forget to hit that like button, that subscribe button, or follow on X. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye. This is Ibisu. He's named after one of the 7 lucky gods of Japan. According to legend, he will bring wealth and prosperity to anybody who evokes his name. So don't forget to write his name in the comments, or you'll bring dishonor to your whole portfolio. And check out this video right here. Say goodbye, Ibisu.